Let's go to Lee Spann for an update on the forecast. That was my mistake. Lee, what can you tell us?
Well, you know, I have a lot of things because we keep talking about the flooding, but I have another issue. My friend Amit Patel in South Tampa, actually the Ballast Point area of South Tampa, snapped this picture. I've been talking about this all morning. The ground is saturated. It's like mud, and it doesn't hold the root system of these large trees. So the light breeze that we're getting, gusting 15, 25 miles an hour, normally is just fine, but it is toppling these big trees. Please be careful. It's just an added insult to injury when we're also talking about the flooding. This is the way it looks on the Hillsborough River. Someone tweeted out, Bonnie Lambert says that the river has now risen so much in the Hillsborough River area that it is onto her dock. So the thing that we keep talking about, you keep hearing the emergency officials talking about, is high tide. So we're 2.5 hours or so, depending on where you are, specifically at the St. Petersburg Pier. High tide happens at 4:45, and that means that the water will already be high. It will be higher than normal because we have an onshore wind flow as well. So we could see high tide along the coast, 1 to 2 feet above what we expect, and that doesn't allow the water to recede. So the flood waters that are already out there will remain for the next several hours, even though it's not raining. Now here's some better news. After that, between about 4 or 5 o'clock and midnight, the tide will be going out and our rain chances are going down. So that will help kind of combine to hopefully bring some of the flooding down. Still tracking, of course, the Anclote River near Elfers could crest later this evening at 26.4 feet. They talked about at a news conference earlier today that this would rival the all-time crest for the Anclote River at Elfers, which was around 27 feet. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. Let me just show you what I have been watching since 2 o'clock this morning. Something I've never seen, a shield of blinding rain. This is a look at 12 hours. We had it come onshore in Pinellas, and we never saw a break in this blinding rain from about 5 o'clock this morning until 11 or noon. Then we finally started to get the breaks. But, I mean, really, I had never seen anything like this. Usually with a tropical system, you get bands of heavy rain. This was consistent heavy rain. Here's a better look at it. Over 12 hours. Do you see any breaks in that? Right over Tampa, Pinellas, Hillsborough, and southwestern Pasco County, which unfortunately was where that Anclote River is. And in that time period, in the 12 hours, this is the rainfall that we picked up, kind of zooming into this area right here. Anywhere from 6 to 7 inches of rain, possibly even 7.5 in Tampa. And there's just no way that, even if it had been dry for the past 2 weeks, that our ground could have held this. But unfortunately, the ground was already saturated. So now the water, 6 to 7 inches, is just sitting right on top of the ground. It's not soaking in anymore. We do have a flood warning for Pasco, northern Pinellas, and Hillsborough County, as you would expect, until about 4:30. Even though the rain has stopped, there's still some spotty rain out in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm going to send that up to my colleague Brian Bennett, who's in the Storm Team 8 Forecast Center. He's going to talk about what we can expect going forward.
Yeah, that's right, Lee. Well, one thing I want to mention was I was working back in New York City during Hurricane Sandy, and it's really great to see the communities coming together as Lauren was out in Pasco County dealing with everybody being rescued and showing how the communities really help out there. So during times of crisis, you do see people really come together. So a great thing to see there. Now, as far as how much more rain we can expect, the good news is I'm not expecting the heavy, widespread, consistent rain, like Lee just mentioned, that shield of rain to continue. The rain threat is diminishing as we speak, and you can probably tell that just by stepping outside your door and seeing lighter rain. But with that said, we do need to stay aware because we do have the possibility for a few downpours to still rumble in to the Bay Area and cause some more additional flooding throughout the evening hours. But at least we are seeing a little bit of a lull in the activity. And rest easy. We are Tampa Bay. We will persevere through this bit of flooding. Yes, it probably will cause $1 million or more of damage to roads, to cars, to private businesses. And I don't want to underplay that at all, but we'll make it through this. And again, I don't want to underestimate the flooding that has occurred, but it's not a tropical storm. It's not a hurricane, and maybe perhaps just an eye-opener to what we could experience with a true tropical event if we were to combine storm surge with this heavy rain, with wind, we could be looking at a really dangerous situation. Again, not to diminish what we're currently experiencing, though. I wanted to quickly talk about the drainage of water from the storm drains. Under normal conditions, like right now when it's not raining that hard and during low tide, the water can flow right out of these storm drains real easy. The water that, again, starts on your roads, flows through a series of pipes, ends up going into the Bay or rivers. That can flow out just fine during low tide. During high tide, different situation. Those pipes are then submerged below water, almost like putting your hand over the end of the pipe. That water can't go anywhere. It ends up backing up. Let me show you a little cross section here. Again, when we have low tide, that water is coming off your streets, flowing out into the river and bays just fine, but then it starts to back up as we see the rain totals accumulate and the higher tides move in. I did want to quickly mention, though, about the high tide and exactly what time that will be occurring. Right around 4 or 5 p.m. is when we're expecting the high tide. That would be the time that you would need to be most savvy about what's going on weather-wise. And just know that we are going to be on the air at 4 p.m. We're one of the few stations in town that have a 4 p.m. newscast. We will be on the air giving you constant updates between 4 p.m. and 7:30 and longer if needed. All right, I want to go back to I believe, Gene and Josh with more information.